Good evening, everyone. Families still struggling to recover now, more than a month after Hurricane Florence made landfall. They're working to rebuild their homes and the places where they gathered to become entire communities. And WECT's Caroline Burkhart today visited the White Stocking Road area of Pender County. Now, Caroline, you were saying earlier, the church that has helped the community also needs help itself.
John, the Sandhill AME Baptist Church and White Stuff come out to help. John.
All right, Caroline, thanks. Now, there's a new site open for you to drop off storm debris. The state approved a permit for the temporary drop-off location in Rocky Point on Highway 210 next to the Desperado Horse Farm. Now, this site is only for vegetative debris like tree limbs and branches, and only Pender County residents can dump off their vegetative debris. It's open Monday through Saturday from 8 to 7. So make sure you bring your ID along to prove that you're a resident.
It's kind of a busy time here with temperatures going back and forth.
Yeah, roller coaster ride all the way through. All right, Eric, speaking of busy, the high school football players are busy right now. Teams are trying to make up games postponed during the hurricane. That means 3 games in 8 days. WECT's John Smith covering several games tonight. Really not a lot of rest time for these players, John.
Yeah, rest.
Good evening. They hoped for help from FEMA to recover from Hurricane Florence, but the agency denied their appeal.
And WECT's Alex Guarino talked with storm victims.
Now to the story of a hurricane victim actually navigating FEMA and the SBA for the past month.
And she says she's surprised at the differences between the two.
Now, if you need to talk to a FEMA rep, there's a new place to go if you live in Pender County. The FEMA Center has moved to the Pender County Agricultural Building Auditorium. That's on South Walker Street in Burgaw. You can meet with reps from FEMA, the SBA, and other organizations. They'll be able to explain the assistance programs and connect you with the resources that match your needs. Now, you should register for disaster help before you go to the center. We have posted details on how to do that inside this story on the WECT News app. More funding approved to help people and communities recover from Hurricane Florence. Governor Roy Cooper signed the Hurricane Florence Recovery Act into law, a total of almost $800 million. The relief package includes $60 million for K through 12 schools for repairs. Public universities will get nearly $30 million in help.
A pet supply donation center loses donors after attention turns to victims of another hurricane.
Yeah, a Pender County woman started collecting supplies for pet owners here during and after the storm, and it prompted her to start an organization called the Eastern North Carolina Equine Emergency Assistance. She had major donors chip in, bringing in truckloads of donations 3 times a week. But when Hurricane Michael hit, many of those donors turned to Florida to give help. That left our local organization searching for donations to keep the doors open and serve people in southeastern North Carolina.
You know, everyone keeps asking.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is heading to Turkey, looking into the death of a columnist for the Washington Post.
And Pompeo already questioned the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia about his country's part in the death of Jamal Khashoggi. Lauren Blanchard reports tonight Congress continues to push the administration.
Entire islands are evacuating as Hurricane Florence moves closer to our coastline. Carolina, Curie, Wrightsville beaches, all under mandatory evacuation orders. Here's some video from Wrightsville Beach taken a few short hours ago. Most Brunswick County beach towns are doing the same. Pender County is now under a county-wide evacuation order. The storm is expected to start impacting us in the next 24 to 36 hours. Right now, we're going to go to the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, having a media availability now with an update on the storm. Let's hear from, we believe it will be, this is Stephen Still, the Director of Emergency Services in New Hanover County.
In the track with Florence. Currently, it is categorized as...
Okay, once again, New Hanover County Manager Chris Coudray with a media briefing after Emergency Management Director Stephen Still at the New Hanover County Government Offices Building. A couple of highlights here. You're seeing Chris Coudray still in the boxes. If he says anything that I need to add, they will let me know. 2 buses leaving at the top of the hour for another shelter outside of New Hanover County. That's going to Winston-Salem, Joel Coliseum in Winston-Salem. 1 leaving from the government center, the other leaving from Johnson Pre-K, which is also a shelter, but is at capacity. So if you can get to either one of those locations by 6, those buses are leaving at 6 o'clock. You can bring your pets, but they will not be with you during the storm. They will be in a shelter next door to Joel Coliseum in Winston-Salem. Eaton Elementary, as of 10 minutes ago, opened as the 4th shelter in New Hanover County. That is Eaton Elementary, but no pets, no bedding there, so you have to bring sheets and pillows, and there is limited food there. Again, that's at Eaton Elementary. And then one other thing that Chris Coudray shared at 6 o'clock, 20 minutes, a final shelter will open in New Hanover County at Noble Middle School. But the caveat there is that if there is a power loss, people who go there may be relocated to another shelter, which it could be Joel Coliseum in Winston-Salem. Again, that's another no pet shelter there. Coming in after the storm, he said there will be enough food and water in the county once the plan and proposal is approved to feed 60,000 people a day for 4 days with food and water. Those will be I would imagine, the hardest hit victims of Hurricane Florence. So that is what was said in that 10-minute media availability in New Hanover County. Again, the hotline 798-6800 for anybody in New Hanover County that has a question related to Hurricane Florence. And the latest coordinates are about 40 minutes old now. Let's get to First Alert meteorologist Eric Davis. You've been kind of breaking this down, Eric.
That's where our John Evans has been following the governor. Been following him around for about an hour and a half now. John, were you able to catch the governor? Did you catch up to where he was at?
Yeah, Bob, he stopped in many of the businesses right here along downtown Market Street. Several of the business owners here he stopped and he talked to, asked them if they were back in business, and most are right here in this little stretch near Water Street. Kilwin's, the ice cream place right here that I'm standing outside of, they're actually getting back and open today. The message many of the business owners had for the governor is, look, we're open for business. We need the rest of the state and everybody else to know we're open for business. Most of them didn't have a lot of major damage, but they're back up and running, and they want whatever kind of help they can get to get the message out that they're open. The other big message that came from down here today, Bob, was the housing issue in New Hanover County and Wilmington. With so many people still in shelters and with apartment complexes evicting people who have damaged apartments, where are all these people going to go? There was a FEMA representative here with Governor Cooper today that talked about many of the hotels in the Wilmington, New Hanover County area are full. Many of the apartments that are not open were damaged. So they're talking now about the possibility of trailers or RVs coming in as an option on down the line. But one of the things that the FEMA rep, Albie Smith, said this morning is that if you're out of your home, if you're displaced, you need to make sure you register for assistance with FEMA, because that will start the process moving forward. That's the one message he had. But everybody kept asking the governor, what are we going to do with the people who get out of shelters next week? People who can't live in their homes. Hotels are full. Apartments are full. They need some place for all these people to live temporarily as they get back on their feet. And Bob, we're going to take a look at what some of the answers were and what some of the leaders talked about in our newscast coming up later today. Yeah, we're live in downtown Wilmington. John Evans, WECT News.
Yeah, and John, we've talked about how, I joked this morning that the governor at this point should just get an apartment in the area. He's been here so much recently. Do you think that this is, him getting out in front of this much earlier than he did with Hurricane Matthew? Because, the governor and the administration really took a lot of heat with Matthew with how that was handled.
It doesn't seem like it's that way to me, Bob. What I heard this morning was the governor wanted to come down, number one, to talk about downtown Wilmington being open again for business. But when he started to get some questions about some of the apartment complexes that have evicted people, which they can do by law, but hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people who are out of their homes, where are they going to go? We have insurance agents here in town. We have repair crews here in town that are taking up many of the hotels. Many of the apartments are full, or there are not many of them to rent. there's a process they go through with getting people that temporary housing. And that's the one message that I heard Representative Deb Butler talk about here today. County Commissioner Rob Zappel asked about it today. That's what the leaders here are concerned, and that's what they were asking the governor and the FEMA representative Albie Smith about. We heard a little bit of what they said, but they kept saying the most important thing for people who are displaced is to register with FEMA, because that'll start the process of looking at their homes and getting that assistance for temporary housing. Will that be here? That's the question. At this point in time, they just don't know where it's going to be.
And that's WTC's John Evans reporting downtown where the governor was.